Hello. Ooh. Hello, my name is Mel. Thank you so much for being here. I apologize for my croaky voice. I am a little bit sick at the moment, but we power on. Today, we're doing a good old-fashioned unhaul. Unhauls generally happen when I move house, and we own this apartment, so we're not going to move anytime soon. If we think about books as an equation, we have a constant variable, which is the amount of space that I have in the apartment that we live in. That is constant. We also have the amount of books that I have. That's a variable. Variable? That can't be right. It's the variable that changes. And guess what? This variable is now starting to outweigh this one. There's books on every surface of the house, and we need to address that. So, by no means have I been incredibly ruthless, but we have 14 books to unhaul today. I feel like that's pretty good, right? You know what the great thing about this unhaul is as well? If there's any of these in the comments sound off that you're like, no, don't get rid of this one, I can always borrow it from the library. You know, use your libraries, people. Use your libraries. Right, so we're going to break it up into sections. The first section being called Sorry Mum. So if you saw my last video where I read some of my mum's books, you will know that my mum passed away when I was 18. That's 9 years ago now. And there are a lot of books on my shelves that I inherited from her because I just wanted as much stuff from her as I could get. But it's been 9 years. The emotion at the thought of getting rid of some of these has sort of died down a little bit, so these are some that I think I'm okay with getting rid of for now. We will cross that bridge later if that's not the case. First we have A Dangerous Fortune by Ken Ken. Sorry, Ken. This one says, a great family of merchant bankers infected by the poisons of ambition and greed. For the Pilasters, sex and love are weapons in a war for power and wealth. One explosive secret becomes the weak link that can bring down a dynasty. It does sound kind of good. No. Goodbye. We have Legacies by Janet Dailies, set in the Civil War. Don't really care for that kind of story, so goodbye. More great working dog stories. I don't know, man, like, I wanted to be connected with my mum, okay? Ooh, a Katie Ford and the Mary Higgins Clark. So, if you saw my last video, spoilers, I read this Mary Higgins Clark and I didn't enjoy it, so we can get rid of it. There are 2 more Mary Higgins Clark on my shelf, so I'm going to give her one more chance for those 2. But for now, I'm never going to reread this. I don't think it was very good. I would never lend it out to anyone, so she can go. And the other Katie Ford that I had, so I'm keeping the one that I read because, again, I do want it as like a trophy and a memory. But I did a bit of a Goodreads Storygraph search, and this one has similarly negative reviews to the other one. And the romance is with her cousin? Hello? No. It does have teapots on the front, so that is a plus. But am I ever going to be okay with a cousin romance? Probably not. So, goodbye. Okay, the next short segment I'm going to call We've Outgrown You. You know, we've moved on. I have Saving Francesca. So this is by the same author as Looking for Alibrandi? Yes, Looking for Alibrandi, which we read in school and was great. I can't say I remember much about this specifically, but I did read it and it was good. But am I ever going to read it again? No. If I have a child, by the time they're reading this, it'll be like, I don't know, a long time from now. So we can get rid of it. It doesn't need to take up space on my shelves. Then we have Zarkora by Annan A. Lockle, and I saw this on the shelves as I entered my library the other day, so there is no reason for this to be here. I remember where I got it. The authors had a booth at Comic-Con in 2016, I want to say, so I bought it from there. I do think I've probably aged out of this one a little bit. I think it skews young adults, so I'm not going to read this anytime soon, unless you sound off in the comments. If you sound off, maybe I'll borrow it from the library, maybe, but this one's going to. And then we have The Point book, 2nd edition. Let's go. I've been on Point for many years now. I do like that having this on my shelves kind of represents something that I love, but I haven't referenced this book in a very long time. My mum bought this for me when I first started Point when I was a teenager, but I just think this takes up a spot that could be used by something else now. So this can go to another young budding ballerina out there. Was this a change of scenery? We're dynamic. Right, this last section is either I'm never going to read that, or I've read that and I'm never going to read it again. So we have Me Before You by Jojo Myers. This was a Christmas gift a very long time ago. if I ever want to read it, it will be at the library. But I've heard it doesn't have the best disability representation, so it's never a priority on my TBR, so it can go. One Day in July, this is about the Edgware bombings in London. Not really the kind of story that I want to read twice, but certainly an interesting and important one. I've had this for quite a while, and I just think it's time for her to go. Right, now we have Work-Strife Balance by Mia Friedman. I'm sorry to Mia Friedman, I do not know who you are. This was a gift, I think, from my stepmom or my dad, and it's very much a call out to how much I was working at the time. Again, there are so many books in the world. I'm never going to read this. Let's just be honest with ourselves here. Be honest. Look at your bookshelves. Are you ever going to read it? If you're not, goodbye. Sorry, the call out was unnecessary. Now we have The Auschwitz Photographer. I read this one. Again, I think I've said this before on my channel. World War II fiction is kind of like my historical period of interest, which is great because a lot of people like to write about that. This is non-fiction, sort of written like fiction, and it was okay, but it's not the best of this kind of genre that I've read, and I don't think I would ever return to it. And if I was to recommend something, there are others on my shelves that I would lend out before this one, so it's going. Oh, The Mother. I think this is it? I think this is the worst book I've ever read. I think so. I think it owns that title for now. I haven't read as widely as some other booktubers, but I really, really, really did not like this. So there is no reason for it to be on my shelves. This was given to me by my mother-in-law, though, so I need to make sure she doesn't want it back. But either way, it's not staying on my shelves. And finally, the last one on the list is Mary's Last Stand. So Mary's Last Stand was one of the only books I think my mum, my sister, and I all read around the same time. So that book holds a special place in my heart. I also had to write some essays on it when I was in grade 7. So, shout out to the endurance journal we had to make. Renee, if you're watching, but this is his wife's story, and it's certainly not as compelling as his. It is difficult to be, and I just don't see myself ever revisiting this, so it can go. Okay, there we have it. We got rid of 14 books. I'm not going to show you my shelves because there are certainly more that if I was brutal enough, I would get rid of. Baby steps, baby steps. I do think that Will might almost be overtaking me in books. So we got to change that ratio, I think. But let me know, what is your criteria for unhauling a book? Do you keep every book? Is it a trophy, no matter if it was 1 or a 5-star? Or do you want your bookshelves to really represent you and your reading and who you are as a person? Let me know. I'm excited to hear from you, and I'll see you guys next time.